Hello, welcome to Tier Nerd. This time I will be reviewing the Gundam series. These are all the shows I've watched in the Gundam series. That's not all of them, obviously. There's a lot more that I haven't watched, and I wish I had the time to do it. I mean, there's so many good anime out there, basically. But this is all I can review at the time. Um, so yeah, Gundam's an amazing franchise, very deep, very thought provoking, very mature. Um, it it's a great franchise in general. Like even the first Gundam right here, Mobile Suit Gundam, I'm gonna give it an A tier. This came out in 1979. It was really old anime and still amazing. Like normally I don't watch stuff that's that old, but this still holds up. Even though it came out in 1979, like way before I wasn't even born yet, and it's that old, and it's still an amazing anime. Like it was still fun to watch. Very good anime. Um, yeah, like the yeah, I mean, just Gundam in general just has a very mature story. Like it just more real world. It's sci-fi, science fiction, but it's realistic science fiction. Mobile Suit Gundam talks about a future, and the technology is actually seems realistic. Like people have a base on the moon. There's bases in outer space, but it doesn't have them living on Mars or anything like that. Like it's science fiction, but in Mobile Suit Gundam, like you can tell, like they still try to keep it within the realm of what is realistic, what probably could easily happen within the next 100 or 200 years or more. So I mean, it's like a realistic science fiction, and it's got some of that politics, and yeah, there's sci-fi jargon. Like a lot of sci-fi shows have all of this jargon, and it gets really confusing. But Mobile Suit Gundam, you could still keep up with it, and I really think it's a solid entry to the franchise, even though it's old. So I'm gonna go in chronological order by release order. So I'm gonna go with these, like, I mean, mostly, it'll be mostly in order. Um, let's see. Yeah, let me just do Zeta Gundam. So Zeta Gundam was the sequel. I do not think it was nearly as good as Mobile Suit Gundam. Like either a really low B tier or super high C tier, but it has its good points. And but overall, I think it's very overrated. Zeta Gundam is very popular among the fans of Gundam. They often rate it really high, like S or A tier, but I just don't see it. I do think this is highly overrated. I think the original is much better than Zeta Gundam. Zeta Gundam, just it's very wacky. Like it's more dark, and the characters are very strange. Like I'll say it's very weird. A lot of the pilots are women, and they're crazy. Like a lot of them, like I don't want to spoil too much of the storyline, but a lot of people end up dying in Zeta Gundam, and for stupid reasons, really. You just see a lot of irrational, crazy behavior, and that just leads to people dying. Like that, you start to see a lot of that in Zeta Gundam, and by the end, it's just everyone just going crazy by the end of the show. So like, even the author, like the creator of Zeta Gundam, didn't even like it. He thought it was he went over the top. Like he actually thought he should hold back. So the creator even thought it wasn't. It had this show had problems, and I think I don't know if he was depressed or something when he made it, but yeah, it kind of showed. So I don't know why it's like one of the most popular Gundams, because it really is. It's probably one of the worst Gundams, actually. So yeah, let's see. Then we got War in a Pocket. I really like this one too. This one is also kind of dark, but it's a short OVA. It's only like 6 episodes, but I just thought it was a very interesting perspective from like kind of like a bystander, and you get to see stuff from like the Xeon perspective rather than the Federation perspective. So I thought it was very good, and the way it ended, the way it ended is ridiculous. Like I'm not even gonna spoil it, but it's that ending is ridiculous. That's probably one of the most depressing, ridiculous endings I've ever seen in a show. There's just yeah, it's this is quite impactful. I remember watching this as a kid, and I was just like, what was that? Like I remember this was actually on TV on Toonami back in the day. I rewatched it recently in Japanese, which is actually that's also what I did for 8th MS Team. I remember watching 8th MS Team and Gundam 0080. Yeah, so this is Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket, and so yeah, I give it an A tier. 8th MS Team was also on TV back in the day, so I remember watching it on Toonami, and then I also rewatched it recently in Japanese. And back then, I thought it was amazing. Also, kind of like one of those endings that kind of made me just go like, "Whoa!" Like, and it's a short, like 12 episode anime, and you get to see it from a different perspective. What people like about 8th MS Team is that it doesn't have any of the like new type overpowered main character with like special powers. Like 8th MS Team, it's kind of more like regular people. Um, not so much plot armor. And yeah, so I think it's a good solid entry. I don't know if it's high B tier or low A tier. When I rewatched it, I didn't think it was quite as good as I remember it. Like it was still good, but just I remember it was more impactful to me as a kid when I watched it. So yeah, so Gundam's solid. Like I mean, it's got mecha and all of that and fighting, and even if you're not into that, I think it's still a good anime series. Even if you're not into like giant robots like in mecha, like that's another thing. It's still good. Um, just because of how mature and serious the storylines tend to be in Gundam. More modern Gundams kind of lost some of that, but it's still there. Then we have Gundam Wing. So Gundam Wing is probably I might put it higher than Zeta Gundam. Gundam Wing is still pretty bad. Like I don't know if I'm being too harsh on these two. I think it's because I'm being harsh on them because I'm comparing them to the other Gundams when the other Gundams are like really good, whereas Gundam Wing and Zeta Gundam just aren't there. They're just not nearly as good. So Gundam Wing, I just thought it was very overrated. I never watched it as a kid. I know a lot of people watched it as a kid, on TV in English. I ended up watching it maybe a few years ago in Japanese, and yeah, I just didn't really see the appeal. Like, it just seemed kind of so. Um, yeah, I just didn't quite see why people loved it quite as much as they did. Um, I just never quite understood that. So yeah, Gundam Wing is just a tad overrated. The characters, yeah, I don't know. The characters just weren't as interesting. I mean, they had cool designs, and it's kind of interesting that there's more Gundams than just like one giant Gundam. There's like several, but other than that, it just wasn't as good. The main girl, Relina, I think, yeah, she was super annoying. Like seriously, she's super annoying. Very rarely do I see the main female characters that are that annoying, but she was definitely up there. And just it just didn't seem it just seemed kind of average, you know. Um, yeah, like it just I didn't really see why it was like so why people thought so highly of Gundam Wing when there's so many other Gundam shows that are way better. So the Gundam Wing, I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe it's more like a B tier, but I think I'll put it high C tier for now. Let's see. Finally, let's see what order do I do. Yeah, let's do Gundam Seed first. Um, yeah, okay. So yeah, this is Gundam Seed. This is Gundam Seed Destiny. So Gundam Seed. I think A tier is pretty fair for Gundam Seed. I did really enjoy it. Like, it's a little more modern. Like, you can tell they try to go for a more modern appeal. You know, tried to make they made it more flashy. Like the older Gundams were more serious. Yeah, Gundam Seed definitely went for a more modern look, trying to appeal to the audiences. But still, it was still good. Still had that same Gundam vibe. A lot of interesting characters, good storyline. I mean, it kept my attention the whole time, so I thought Gundam Seed was good. Gundam Seed Destiny just kind of wasn't as good. The main character was annoying, and yeah, it just wasn't as good. I mean, basically, just the common problem a lot of second seasons have is they just kind of fall apart. Like, yeah, whether it's Final Fantasy X 2 or 13-2, or if it's a second season of an anime, just quite often sequels, whether games or anime, just don't live up to the expectations of the audience, like of the fan base. A lot of times the first season really is better than the second season because the second season just doesn't. They just don't try as hard. That's what it seems like, or they come up with this like filler-esque plot. That's what I see a lot on second seasons. So it just doesn't hold as much attention. Yeah, it just wasn't as good. It's still solid though. It's still a solid entry in the Gundam franchise. Let's see now. What do we have? So we have Gundam, Double O Gundam, and then we have Gundam Origin. So Double O Gundam, and so Double O Gundam. Yeah, this is actually this is actually my favorite. I think. Yeah, not sure it's here. I think this is my favorite. That's what I would say. It's probably my favorite. I don't know if actually I would put Gundam Seed above Mobile Suit Gundam as well. I might do that too. I think Gundam Seed I did really enjoy actually, so I think it's fair to put it up here. But yeah, I think it's definitely fair to put it up there. And let's see. So Gundam Double O, yeah, it's one of my favorites. I really just enjoyed the whole story. So like I said, Gundam tends to be they try to be sort of realistic. Gundam Double O takes place in the future, like the year 2300, where they ran out of like the resources on the planet are kind of running out. So pretty much everything is solar powered, and yeah, like that's it. Like basically, I mean, they're still being realistic in the science. The science of it is actually realistic as much as possible. Um, so yeah, I just thought it was a good, solid franchise. It keeps the same old, war. Basically that's it. Trying to stop wars and just all of this stuff. I mean, basically just an interesting plot. It's been a few years since I watched it, so I don't remember as much, but it was definitely good. I remember it being really good when I watched it. So yeah, Gundam Double is my favorite. And then we have Gundam Origin, which I watched recently. I enjoyed it. It's sort of like a prequel to the original Mobile Suit Gundam. You get to see Char and kind of how he grew up, and you can kind of see and like basically the story of Char, before Mobile Suit Gundam, and it was very interesting. Like I actually thought this was a really really good entry. I think solid A tier for sure. And this came out more recently. I forget when Gundam Origin came out. It might have been a few years back. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting and fun to watch. So yeah, entries in Gundam, they're good. Like they're generally good. Some are not as good. Like some of the like Zeta Gundam and Gundam Wing, kind of are a little more lackluster. But many of like a lot of them are A tier. And I actually forgot one. A long time ago, I watched G Gundam as a kid, and I don't know if I watched all the episodes, but G Gundam was pretty good. Like, I want to rewatch it and from the beginning because I might have missed some episodes when I watched it as a kid. But yeah, I totally forgot to add G Gundam as well. So G Gundam, I think I would put maybe B tier, high B tier, or low A tier. I think because G Gundam, I did enjoy it. I mean, I know a lot of memes came out of it, out of G Gundam, with the shining finger, and that was pretty funny at the time. But yeah, so I totally forgot to put G Gundam in here. But that's another one I watched. And there's a lot more I want to watch, like Iron Blood Orphans, and some of the older ones. I want to watch in chronological order. And there's just so much to watch and just so little time. But one of these days, I'm going to get around to all of that. So anyway, that's it. Stay tuned for more videos.